Hey, top of the morning to you. Michael here. Greg kids call me Roo. It's 8:57 on a Thursday morning. I hardly ever join you on a Thursday morning, so I'm going to get right to it. I've got to paint a couple honeybees very quickly this morning, and I thought you'd like to see the process. So no time lapse, no like the painting you just saw. This is all in actual time. Show you how after 990 something, I think I'm into what I write it down to keep up with it. Today I'll be painting 963, 964. We'll see how that goes in a quick, rapid time. So glad you're on the show if you're out there and about. So I'm just going to I'm going to skip the hellos like I do on my normal shows on Mondays and Saturdays and in my classes, and just say, here we go. I'm going to explain the paper, and then we'll jump to it. So here's what the desk looks like this morning. Right now it's just a white mess. There's the picture in picture. Boom, I'm back. Um, Got a few pencils and pens laid out, and even a flare pen. Seriously, I said pencil. Um, I don't use a pencil much, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to start with one this morning. The goal is to just do a quick little honeybee. And so to make that work, here's what I'm going to do. This is Kilimanjaro, 140 pound, um, ultra bright, I should say. It's rag cotton. The reason I use this is because I love the rough side. It is hot, it is cold press, not hot press. That means it's rougher. I like the way the color pops up on the little undulations in the paper. Think of it as not being pressed, like my shirt. And then I'm going to also show you how to paint one on something that I'd call mixed media. This is like my practice paper, but it's also if I go into a restaurant and sit down at the bar and order my sweet tea with no ice and lemon, and they could look at me kind of funny, and I go, yeah, but I need a place to paint. And so I ask them for a couple menus or whatever. Sometimes I'll just use their paper and I'll paint something on it and give it back to them. This is a good example of that. I paint really on the best watercolor paper that I love, and that's Kilimanjaro paper. But I paint a lot on paper that's in restaurants or wherever I pick up, especially if they have if they do their menu on 20-pound copy paper. No, okay, I'm not going to stay there long. But if it's on a piece of paper that has body and style, and I like to hold it, this is 117 pound, but it's a smooth mixed media paper. So I'm going to paint one on that just to show you. You have to use a little different approach to color and water. So here we go. This paper, by the way, is a little over 4x6. So yeah, 5.5 by 4.5. So a little under 6 inches, but 4.5 by 5.5. A little smaller, a little larger than a whiskey painter painting. Put a little music here, and there's that same piece of music. I like that piece of music. And here we go. A little quick, just on for a few minutes, painting a bee. And after time, I want this bee to fit paper, but I don't think I'll want him off. All of that. But there it is now. I think I'm on the right audio. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just take my pencil and just draw a little sketchy line down like this. Look, now I know his wings are going to fit across there, right there, okay? Sorry about that. Okay, so his wings are going to fit right in here very nicely, but I'm going to take and start building his body up, and I'm just going to do this with a pen because I don't want to go back and erase the pencil marks. So he's going to have a bulbous behind. Okay, so I'm just going to take him around like this and bring him in and bring his bottom back like that a little bit. Yeah, didn't have to use the whole plus. There he is. I'm going to pull his body up like this a little bit around that centerpiece, and then I'm just going to do, I call it a coffee bean. I have a couple friends in the coffee business, so I always think of them when I do this. And then I'm going to come in here. There's the cross piece, but I'm going to bring his wings out here, and that's going to be the sort of the centerpiece. Come back and then cut back in like this. It's all actual time, nothing sped up here except for me. I'm talking fast, but I always talk fast. So there's a couple little antennae that come out like this and then bend around. A little bit of a messy backside here. He's got some hair on here. It's called pile on the honeybee. Look at this. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do his bottom band. Just this is going to be here, and I'm going to curve across here, and then one up in here, like sort of like this, and just let it come down. So there's my bee right there. He's pretty good size. Can you see? I could trim this paper perfect for just a little kitchen thing. I'm going to grab a number 6 or 7. As a matter of fact, just for fun this morning, I'm going to grab a Yasutoma Zero brush, and I'm using my American Journey paints. Um, and they're in my skillet. There they are right there. And I'm just going to go in and grab a little bit of lamp black and just come in and just start dancing this lamp black right in here, just like this. Um, and notice I'm not, I didn't wet the colors before I started painting. I'm just letting a little of the drier paint come in on this paper. I left it that reason for a reason. When I used the thinner paper this morning, I didn't want my watercolor paper or paint to be too wet. So I'm just kind of coming in here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean this brush out a little bit, and I'm going to go in with a little lighter color up in here on the head. Just see how I just used a little bit of water in that to get a wash, okay? And some people like a little bit of brown in the bee's head, or maybe a little bit of orange. This is a little bit of, I think it's sienna something, who knows. Okay, and then he could have a little sharper behind here where his stinger is, and there we go. Now, while this paint is still a little moist, I'm going to do something else before I go there. I'm just going to let that dry just for a little bit. I'm going to come in and I'm going to use a little buff titanium here on the wings and just pick up a little bit of color. All right, I'll show you another trick on this in a minute, and another one. You remember, I'm not taped down, so I'm spinning this around. It makes it comfortable for me. If I sound like I'm rushing, no, I'm German. No, if I sound like I'm hurrying, I'm really not. This is sort of how I paint. I like to paint while everything is loose and wet and moist, and just kind of swing it in like this. I'm adding a little bit of that brown paint there. Then I'll just take my finger and rough that up just a little bit. That's a kind of a good looking wing. Maybe he's flying over some yellow flowers. Who knows where he is? I'm going to grab some gamboge out of my colors here, right here. And I'm going to come in here now, and I'm just going to start stroking that down in like this. Now look what happened here. I hit the black with my yellow paint. And so some of you are going like, oh no, his colors are running together. It's okay. Bees have hair on their bodies. I just mentioned it, called pile, P-I-L-E. And it doesn't, if the wind's blowing, those colors are going to just bump together. They're going to spread those little hair out a little bit. I could have waited till that dried a little more, but then I wouldn't have had some of this overflow going into the other colors. I'm going to grab a little bit of Halloween orange and just punch it on the edge right here. Just barely right there. Why on that side? Well, I felt like the light was going to come in from that direction, and so I just put a little there. Look at that. That's cool. Now I'm going to grab my pen and I'm going to do some legs, and I'm going to let both of these back legs come this way. You saw my front legs come out here. There goes one that way. These are little short legs that come back, and then I'm going to have this big leg that comes down. This is the leg that's got the bucket on it. Did you know they had a bucket on their leg? Yeah, there's a great scientific name for it. I just call it the bucket. It's the wheelbarrow leg. It comes down for holding the pollen that he goes out and collects. And then for me, I'm just going to grab, there's two ways to do these legs. One is if I want to get in there with a brush, or I might just come in with a fountain pen. So sorry here, I have an email that just popped up. It may have blocked, I don't know if it did. I may have forgotten to turn off my mail this morning. Looks like there's no May to it. Looks like I did. And I'm just going to grab a smaller brush. Let me grab a little number 4 here and just come in and touch a little bit of black in there too. Wouldn't need much because I put that fountain pen in there. I could just grab that, and sometimes the legs have a little bit of brown in them. Sometimes they have a little bit of shiny black. It just depends on where they've been crawling around and doing their thing in the flower garden. And so there's this bee, and he's got a little bit of black going up through there, maybe a little more orange on this backside just to get some of that color in the head. I'm going to finish these front legs like this. I'm talking very fast. It gets exciting when I do this. I know that sounds crazy, doesn't it? It's like, seriously? Did he just say he was excited painting a honeybee? Let me show you what I can do with a brush handle. I'll come in with this, let me clean this brush off. Let me come in with this clean brush right here on this brush handle, and I can just come up in here and just make a few little marks like that. And I'm going to do one more of these this morning and do probably about a 15-minute show, and then I'm out of here. Got some work to do, but I want to paint a couple honeybees. So there you go. So good morning to you. Thanks for jumping on the show. I'm just having some fun with honeybees this morning. I spent an hour doing dragonflies on Patreon with some of those dear friends who are, man, some of their work that they've been posting is just unbelievable. You know, hey, they're all better painters than I am. I just push the pendulum. That's my job. As an art person, as a person who thinks like an artist, I go, everybody should be doing something creative. Look what I just did. This black paint took off on me a little bit, so I just kind of come in there and I'm gonna brighten up this yellow just a little bit like this, and just let that bee go. I'm gonna let him dry for a minute, and I'm gonna show you something else. I'm gonna switch papers on you, okay? So I'm gonna put him to a side. By the way, he's gonna become number 963. There he is right there. There's 963. All right, let's put him over there and just let him dry for a little bit. And then I'm going to grab a piece of 117-pound mixed media paper. Okay, find it in a big box store if you want to. I keep this around for notes, my phone calls, my doodle on my desk, but sometimes I like painting on it. It keeps me humble when I think I'm just doing so good on watercolor paint. I'll go to a piece of this and then it'll just take off. But I really do like it, and I think I just told you why a few minutes ago. If you just signed on, you didn't hear it. Sometimes I'll go and the restaurant will look full. I'll think, I just want to have a brunch out somewhere, and I'm not cooking here today. We cook a whole lot in our house, and so we'll just go once a week. We'll go. I'll sit at the bar, and so they'll always ask me what I want to drink. I'll say some sweet tea, no ice. Sweet tea, no ice. Everybody's just used to all Americans drinking. I don't drink ice. I tell them I'm allergic to it. And that sort of stops them, and then they go, "This guy doesn't think normally." And then sometimes they'll hand me a little brunch menu or special, and it's printed, and it'll have a blank. If it has blank on the back, I'll say I'm going to keep that, and then I'll wind up drawing something from the menu on the back. And it feels like this: about 117-pound mixed media paper, prints well, holds up well. So it's art paper, but it's not it's not cardstock. So anyway. Now I'm just going to take a bee here, and I'm going to do a little different bee for you, and I'm going to do him with a fountain pen. I was looking to see if I had one of my other big fountain pens up here this morning, and I don't see it. Rats. That would have been fun, and I'm taking up a little of your time. Let's see if it's in my art bag. It may be right in here. Pull out my bug out bag and look down in there and see if I put it in there, and lo and behold, there it is. Boom, got it. Okay, this is the Metropolitan, what is this? Pilot. I couldn't even say it for a minute. This is the Pilot from Metropolitan. It's not from the Metropolitan Museum, but it's what it's called, and it's a medium pen. And so I'm going to do just 3 U's here. Watch this. I'm going to just do a little U here like this. You're going to like, this is the weirdest U I've ever seen. I've never seen a U like that. No, here's the U right here. See that U that just came in right there? There's a U that just came right there. U as in not goats, but U as in, there's my little U right there. See it? Okay. And then I'm going to swing out here, and I'm going to do another little U, a smaller bodied U right here, just like this. And I started doing this just as a doodle one day to see if I could make a bee appear like I do with roosters sometimes. And so I think you see where this bee's coming in already. Okay, so I'll go here like this, and then come down a little bit. And I think you can see what I'm doing there. Can you see that? All right, so then I'm going to use a smaller pen, maybe this one here, and I'm going to come in right here, and I'm going to build those wings up, and I'm just going to take them down a little bit, and then come in with that other wing in there. That's all the wings this bee's going to get right there. It's going to get a couple legs that come out this way, and then a couple that hang down here, and then he's going to get this break across here with this big jointed leg that comes down like this, and then hangs down, and then another one that comes off the other side, but we can only catch that much of it. All right, so there is the start of my bee, and I did this with this big fountain pen on this paper, and here's why. Watch this right now in a second. This is going to be a bumblebee. You know, there's and the anatomy of a bumblebee is the bum and the bull, and then the bumblebee. Okay. The bee. All right, so there he is. He's flying across, and I'm going to take my Yasutoma brush again, which carries a lot of water, so I have to be careful. And then I'm just going to fill in the ink like this. Need some nice music here. That's like circus music. So I'm not speeding this up on account of your watching. I'm speeding it up because on account of this is sort of how I do my bees. I don't want to spend all this tense time with my shoulders trying to figure out what I was doing when I just want sometimes some reckless marks to make the bee happen. I'm going to go up here and jump on his wings a little bit. I'm not going to jump on him. I'm going to pull in a little of that brown membrane across the top. I just sort of like it a little heavier brown up there. Tea works great for this. And for those of you who forget that I use a lot of tea, I'm drinking tea. But I also have a cup that, can you see this here? I have another little diner mug. Look at that baby. This actually belonged to my wife's dad. When he's with Levi's or Sears and Roebuck's back in the day. I put one tea bag down in there and just cover it with a little water. And it makes this very dark tea. So I haven't drank out of it. It's sort of clean, and I'm going to paint out of it. But this is a great color to come in. Clean brush, come in with a little bit of this and just put a little bit of that tea color in there. Look at that. That is just so perfect. In fact, that'd be perfect to start some of this with here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab a little bit of my gamboge or a bright yellow. In this case, I'm going to jump over to Indian yellow, and I'm going to grab, I'm going to change this though. Watch what I'm going to do on a bumblebee. He's got a little whiter bum in the back. So I'm going to grab my yellow and I'm going to come in. Whoops, I guess I'm not. All right, hang on one second. I'm going to have to come in with a tighter brush. Nope, I'm going to try it. I'm just going to be a bulldog and try it. Here we go. I'm going to come in right here and just put some yellow down in there, and I'm just going to let it sit for a second. Then I'm going to put some right in here. I'm going to let it sit for a second. The black's going to take over it, but I'm going to come in with my paper towel like I did a minute ago and change this out a little bit. I want a little bit of French gray on his hiney right here. Just pull a little bit of that in. Bumblebees have this tendency to have a little white bum a little bit with some hair running down in it. That's way too much. So you can see the difference between the paper already. So I'm actually working hard to be careful. And at this speed, I'm not being very careful. It's obvious. But it gives you an idea of how this works on different papers. And so anyway, just wanted to pop on this morning, do a couple honeybees. I've got an auction I'm going to throw out this morning that's a rooster, but I'm also, and I'm doing it in sort of honor of my dad, who was a strange bird to work with. He was a hard man to work with, but he knew a lot about things. And he was not necessarily a good mentor to me, but he was a sage. And that's what I'm going to put out my final, the painting that I painted a few days ago. I have it laying here. It's this wiry old rooster here, and it says, we all need a sage in our lives. Not talking about herbs or that tall grass on the farm. We need a sage. And so he wasn't a mentor. He wasn't my spiritual mentor. Some he was, but he wasn't my coach. He didn't, if I wanted to be involved in things, he'd let me involved, but he didn't tell me how to do too much except do a good job. He was kind of a sage. So when I learned to listen to his storytelling, I learned more about him that way than kind of anyway. I'm going to toss this out on an auction today. This is one I painted a few days ago. And I'm going to throw these two bees in just for to ride along with it, because my dad was a beekeeper, and it was in the honey house where he painstakingly took care of the bees that I really learned a great deal about life. And he would talk about the honeybee and how it appreciated community and how they worked together and how they told each other where the important flowers were and the nectar was, and all the stuff that I guess I thought now, even as I'm an older man, that I thought, hey, he's really telling me a little bit about life here. You know, we learned a lot from the honeybee. And so I put yellow in there, and I didn't mean to put all that much yellow in there. I wanted a little more Payne's Gray, so I'm going to take some of that yellow out just like that, and I'm going to drop a little bit of white just in there like that. I love that little piece of white caul in the back of, isn't that an interesting word I just used for color? A little caul for color there. So anyway, so there's your bumblebee. He could be a big honeybee, but he's got a little more of a bumblebee body, a little more of the roll. And so those two bees I'm going to put in now. I'm going to show you one more thing on this one that I let dry. I'm going to let this one dry. Those two are going to ride along with my bee this morning. This is the bee that I just did first. So you saw how I drew it. Remember, I've done this, teaching this. So you draw a Christmas light bulb, then you draw a crushed flower, and then a little coffee bean for the head. I'm going to set this cup right here on top of the bee. This is the cup that has a little tea bag in it, and I'm going to take my bamboo brush. I could use any of these American Journey brushes. I could use a number 6 would work fantastic. A 3 rigger would work well. In fact, I'll just show you how. You might have one of these before you'd have a bamboo. I love bamboo brushes. These are Yasutoma, but this is Cheap Joe's. I'm just going to go with a clean brush. I'm not drinking this tea. I'm drinking this tea. Man, that's good. I'm going to just dip a little brush in there and get some of this. Let me show you what color this is even before I put it down. Let me just grab another piece of paper here. Take a look at this color. Is that not beautiful? Look at that. And it's going to take it a little bit longer to dry. It doesn't have any sizing agent in it. It doesn't have any oils or honey or anything. It would be funny if it had honey in it, wouldn't it? That'd be kind of fun. So this is a TB here. To be determined. Okay, so that's painted just with tea. And I've one bag and a little bit of... oh, and I spilled some here. I love it when I do that, okay? All right, so I'm going to set this down right here. Boom. And I'm going to widen this out just a little bit. Watch this go out just a smidge right there, okay? And then I'm going to dip in here, and I'm just going to paint around the edge of the cup. I'm not touching the paper. I'm just painting around the edge of the cup, really low, and letting it drip down onto the paper, okay? And it's going to hit the B over here. And I'm just painting around the cup. You got to love this. You got to go, hey. Now, if this is, and this is some dark, dark color. And then I'm just going to splatter a little bit of this with my hands like this. In a minute, I'm just going to take the cup up, and I might set the ring over somewhere else, but I may not. So I think I need a little drip there. I'm just painting the back side of the cup here. You can see that, okay? All right, so several people ask me this. Gosh, how did you get a perfect tea ring on that? And I go, I just painted around my cup, and some potter was better at circles than I am because the centrifugal force, and he's learned to center it. All right, I'm going to take this. I'm going to turn my cup a millimeter. Just twist it a little bit. So if any of that's there, I could even tap my cup like this to just knock some of that off. And look, when I pick it up, I've got this scattered tea ring that's going around the B. And look at that. See how that's a perfect ring right there? So I'm just going to leave it like it is. And it's going to take this one a while to dry. I'm going to come in and just do a little bit more splatter here. Here's where I could come back in with my pencil. Of course, afterwards, he says, do it now. That'd be a silly thing to do, but might put in a little more of just pencil lines in here for some detail in the wings. And maybe a little more touch of this, maybe the T up on the head really looks better. I think I want a little bit of yellow right up there though. And I want a little bit of black right here on this, a little darker. And I want one more touch of, and I just dipped it in my other tea, in my painting tea. A little more touch of this. Now let's finish up the one thing and then I'm gone. Almost did a, gosh, I was going to do 15 minutes. So, but I've done 2 B's, so 2 B's or not 2 B's. So somebody post that. All right, here we go. And put some little of these run-in lines right here. This is where the pile is. He's a little fuzzy bee. All right, so there's one of the bees. He's going to be bee number 63. This bumblebee, which I'm going to touch this one more time right here, and then go back and grab a little bit of white. Just right here because I want a little more white on this tail. And I want to give him a little bit of this bee splatter also. Just so here I'm not going to do the ring. I'm just going to splatter him with some of that tea. Maybe this is maybe this should be blowing back like this. All right, so there's my 2 bees, and it gives you a little idea on how fast it is. Now some of you paint very detailed bees, some of you paint just beautiful honeybees. This is my style, and this is kind of where I'm heading with that. I just let an eye spill there. I'll finish that before I send it out. This is going to be bee number 964. So he goes right here. He gets number 964. I'm on my way to 2,000. I'll sign them both. I might put captions on them. And they're going to go out with today's auction. Roodoodles. And there's a good little quick lesson in bees. A fun paper. I rip it down to 4x5 4x4, 4.5 by 5.5, somewhere in that neighborhood. 4x5 is really a 20-inch square, fits well in my little book, and I carry that out with me when I go places. But don't forget to use sometimes just have another little cup with paint. Look at that bee color. Is that not cool? By the way, it's going to remain damp for a while if you see that. This also could be an angel. All right. Do you think I stopped doing this? No. Take a look. They're all over the place. I have bees everywhere up here. Okay. All right. That's it. A lot of folks on the show. I see you here this morning. Thank you for coming on. And y'all have a blessed day and be creative. These are going to go with my day's auction of this bee right here when we all need a sage in our lives. So a little tribute to my dad on this June day when he would be setting all his bees out. We'd be taking them. We'd be getting the bees ready. They traveled mid-July over to a farm to sit and bring in the sourwood honey. Oh, man. And I love sourwood honey. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to go make a biscuit and have some sourwood honey. Yep, it's worth it. I'm out of here like a bee, buzzing off.